This is the last video in this section. We are going to do a small selectors training. Why is it small? First, it won't be long. Second, we will be using a very basic version of selectors. What we have learned so far. We will focus on the combinator-based selectors. In a few days, when we get to know better the concepts such as inheritance, cascading, and advanced pseudo-class selectors, we will do the advanced selectors training. And it's good to do such training because it teaches us how to think. And thinking is very important in programming. Now I would like you to focus and try to do what I am asking you to do. If you fail, don't worry. Because programming thinking about problem solving, can be learned. You just have to do it a lot, do it often, and don't give up. First, let's say what our exercises will look like. On the left side, we have the HTML code. I assume in advance that the HTML code cannot be changed. Imagine this is a complete website. We can't change anything here. We got this HTML code and we need to style it. We have a task ahead of us and we have to solve it. Most often we will have to choose the correct selector. This is our first task. Make such a selector that the second div has its font set to Arial. Remember that you can't add anything to the HTML code, and the visible code is the entire page. The first thing we could think of is to use the div selector. However, this does not solve our problem because such a selector applies to both div tags. The CSS selector is applied to all matching elements, and we only want to style the second div tag. Please note that we only use the selectors based on the tags and the combinators in today's training. The combinators that we know are space, which is a descendant, plus sign, which is the first younger brother, a greater than sign, which is a child, and a tilde, which is every younger brother. So now I would like you to pause this video and try to find a matching selector based on what we already know. If you succeed, great. If not, take a look at my answer to get to the track of the way of thinking in the future. So pause the video now and you will know my answer in a moment. This is the correct answer. This is one of two correct answers that could come to our mind today. Div plus div. So reading from the end, take the div tag, which is the first younger brother of another div tag. In other words, take a div that has another div directly in front of it. As we can see in our HTML code, our second div is the first younger brother of the first div. They are parallel elements following one another. In this case, we could also use the tilde as a combinator. It would mean any younger brother. It doesn't matter that in our HTML code, the first div has only one younger brother. Now the question for extra points. I will ask such questions sometimes. They are characterized by the fact that they are difficult to solve based on the knowledge you have right now. So don't worry at all if you fail to answer them. Nevertheless, it is worth focusing and trying to find the answer in order to spot certain patterns in the future. This is the question. Will the P elements inside the div be yellow with the Arial font used? If so or not, can you guess why? If you want to think for a moment, pause the video, and I will answer the question. The answer is, of course they will, because they will inherit it from their parent, which is the div tag. Let's move on to the next task. Here we already have the selector. The color yellow property makes the elements yellow. The question is, which elements? If you want to think for a moment, pause the video, and I'll give the answer. In our case, the two highlighted p tags will be yellow. Each time it will be a p tag that has another p tag directly in front of it. And why is that? It will become easy when we will read our selector from the end. Take the p tag, which is the first younger brother of another p tag. And which elements will be yellow here? We've made our HTML a bit complicated. We added two p tags between the div tags, and we added one p tag in the last div tag. One of the p tags also includes a span tag now. So pause the video and try to think which elements will be yellow in this example. You have the answer to this question marked in blue on this slide. In the first div tag is the second p tag. In the second div tag, it's exactly the same. What may surprise you, in the last div tag, we have the last two p tags marked. In the last div tag, the first p tag has no other p tag directly in front of it, so it was not taken into account. The second p tag already has another p tag in front of it, so it works. But the last p tag also has another p tag in front of it, which also makes it matching to that selector. A task for extra points. What color will the span content be? First, we need to settle if the p tag that has the span tag inside matches our selector. I can tell you right away that it does, which you should already guess from the previous task, because this p tag is the first younger brother of another p tag, so it has another p tag directly in front of it. Now the question is, what color will the content of the span tag be? The answer to that question is, of course, it will be yellow, because the span tag will inherit this property from the p tag it is in. The span tag is nested within the p tag, which means it is a p tag's child. It will inherit this property from its parent. In our div tag, we have the p tags nested, so the p tags are the children of the div tag, as well as the span tag is nested within the p tag, so it is a child of the p tag. Don't be fooled by the fact that the p tags are spelled from a new line and the span tag is in the same line as its parent. This is due to the properties of block and inline elements that we will learn about later. So this is the question for extra points, because you may not have known about it at all. Another task. It gets a bit more complicated here. I must admit that this is a difficult one, especially at the beginning of learning. At the later stage, we will learn more advanced selectors that will allow us to get precisely to a specific element. However, with the knowledge we have now, we are able to do it, but it requires a large dose of thinking. Nevertheless, I provide the solution right away. The solution is this. It may seem strange, but I wanted to include this example to show you that there can be many combinators in a selector. Let's read this selector from the end. Take the p tag, which is the first younger brother of another p tag, which is also the first younger brother of another p tag. In other words, take the p tag that has two other p tags in front of it. Let's complicate things even more. What selectors will we use to match the p tags marked in blue? If you want to think a little bit more, pause the video and I'll give you the answer. Here is the answer. Take the p tag, which is the younger brother of another p tag. I remind you that the tilde means not only the first younger brother, but every younger brother. As you can see, the div tag with the text 5 in it is also the younger brother of a p tag, but our selector applies only to the p tags, which are the younger brothers of another p tag. Another task. We need to find a selector that will only apply to the marked p tag. I'm giving you a moment and here's the answer right away. This is the answer. Such a selector allows us to get exactly to that element. Take the p tag, that is a descendant of a div tag, that is a descendant of another div tag. So our p tag must be nested in two div tags. If you had used a greater than sign instead of a space, that would also work in this case, because you would refer to the child of this element, and as you know, the child is a direct descendant. Another task. What selector will we use to match the marked elements? Pause the video and I'll answer in a moment. Here is the correct answer. This is the selector that allows us to get to these elements. Take the p tag, which is the child of the div tag. The p tag with the text 4 in it is a descendant of a div tag, but not its child. This p tag is a child of a section, so it doesn't match our selector. The last assignment for today. The hardest of all, so try to focus, but don't blame yourself if you fail. A small hint from me, because without it, it will be even more difficult. Use an asterisk in this selector. An asterisk refers to every element. What selector will you create to match the marked elements? A moment for you and my answer. Here we have the answer. Take the p tag, that is a descendant of any element, that is a descendant of a div tag. In this selector, we can substitute every element under the asterisk symbol. In the first example, it's a div tag that is a descendant of another div tag. In the second example, it's a section that is a descendant of a div tag. Congratulations, you have reached the end of this section of the course. These were intense 2 days. As you can see, I expect a lot from you, but we are also moving forward intensively. We still have a lot of interesting things to learn. Thank you very much and see you in the next section of the course.